Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. In today's video, we'll be diving into one of the most significant events in American history, the American Revolution. From its causes to its impact on the formation of the United States, we'll cover it all. So whether you're a history buff or just looking to learn more about this pivotal moment in time, this is the video for you. Let's get started. The American Revolution, also known as the Revolutionary War, was a pivotal conflict in the late 18th century where the 13 American colonies fought for their independence from British rule. This historical period, spanning from 1775 to 1783, marked the birth of the United States of America as a nation. The roots of the revolution can be traced back to various social, political, and economic grievances. One of the main catalysts was the imposition of taxes by the British government without granting the American colonies proper representation in Parliament, a sentiment famously encapsulated in the rallying cry, "No taxation without representation." Tensions simmered as British authority strengthened and colonial dissatisfaction grew. In 1775, the conflict erupted into full-scale war with the battles of Lexington and Concord, when British attempts to seize colonial arms provoked armed resistance. Various leaders emerged during this time, including George Washington, who would become the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Among the patriots, the colonists who sought independence, there was a profound sense of determination and a strong desire for liberty. The struggle was not solely about military might. It was also a profound ideological battle. The Declaration of Independence, drafted in 1776 by figures such as Thomas Jefferson, was a cornerstone document that articulated the colony's right to self-governance and underscored principles of equality and individual rights. With support from foreign allies, most notably France, the colonies gradually turned the tide of the war. The pivotal Battle of Saratoga in 1777 marked a turning point, convincing the French to formally ally with the American cause. Subsequent victories, combined with international pressure, eventually led to a British surrender at Yorktown in 1781. The Treaty of Paris was signed in 1783, formally ending the conflict and recognizing the sovereignty of the United States. This victory laid the groundwork for the establishment of a democratic nation and inspired other colonies worldwide to challenge colonial rule. The American Revolution was more than just a fight for independence. It was a foundational moment in history that reshaped global perceptions of governance and individual freedoms. The legacy of the American Revolution extends far beyond the battlefield victories and the signing of treaties. It fundamentally transformed political thought and inspired movements for freedom around the globe. The ideals of liberty, democracy, and self-determination became guiding principles not only for the United States, but also for other nations seeking to break free from imperial domination. In the years following independence, the newly formed United States faced the enormous task of building a stable government. The Articles of Confederation initially guided the nation, but soon revealed weaknesses, particularly in managing finances and uniting the states under a strong central authority. This led to the Constitutional Convention of 1787, where leaders such as James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, and George Washington drafted the U.S. Constitution, a framework that balanced power between the federal and state governments and established checks and balances to prevent tyranny. The Constitution, together with the Bill of Rights adopted in 1791, ensured the protection of individual freedoms such as speech, religion, and due process. These documents became cornerstones of democratic governance and have influenced countless constitutions around the world. Culturally and socially, the revolution also sparked debates about equality and human rights. While it primarily advanced the rights of white men at the time, its language of liberty inspired gradual movements toward the abolition of slavery and the push for women's rights. Many enslaved people viewed the revolution's message of freedom as a contradiction to their condition, leading some to seek liberty by escaping or joining the British side, who promised emancipation. Economically, independence opened new opportunities for trade and expansion. The colonies, no longer restricted by British mercantile policies, began developing industries in westward territories. Cities like Boston, Philadelphia, and New York transformed into vibrant centers of commerce and political thought. Perhaps the most profound effect of the revolution was its influence on other independence movements. From France to Latin America, revolutionary leaders cited the American example as proof that ordinary people could overthrow oppressive empires and establish self-rule. The global ripple effects of the American Revolution cemented it as a turning point in world history. Even today, the principles born from that struggle, liberty, equality, and the pursuit of happiness, continue to shape democratic ideals worldwide. The revolution was not merely a war for independence, but a revolution of ideas that forever changed humanity's understanding of government and freedom, building a new nation and global impact. As the United States entered its formative years, the challenges of turning revolutionary ideals into practical governance became increasingly evident. The early republic faced internal divisions, economic hardship, and the delicate balance of uniting diverse states under one flag. The leadership of George Washington, the nation's first president, was critical in guiding the country through this uncertain period. His emphasis on national unity, neutrality in foreign affairs, and the peaceful transfer of power set important precedents that defined American democracy. The revolution had not only changed government, but also reshaped society. Education and literacy began to expand as citizens realized that an informed population was essential to sustaining a democracy. Newspapers and pamphlets flourished, spreading political debate and civic awareness across the young nation. Artists, writers, and philosophers captured the revolutionary spirit, giving rise to a distinctly American identity rooted in independence and perseverance. Despite progress, contradictions remained. Native American tribes faced displacement as settlers pushed westward, and the institution of slavery persisted, casting a shadow over the nation's commitment to freedom. Yet, the revolution's message of equality continued to ignite reform movements. Abolitionists, women's rights advocates, and social reformers drew inspiration from the founding ideals, demanding that liberty and justice be extended to all. Internationally, the American Revolution became a symbol of hope and defiance. Its success emboldened other peoples under colonial rule, from the French Revolution in 1789 to the Latin American uprisings led by figures like Simón Bolívar. The idea that ordinary citizens could challenge monarchy and shape their own destiny transformed global politics forever. The enduring spirit of the revolution. As the 19th century unfolded, the principles born from the American Revolution continued to guide the nation's journey. The United States grew rapidly, both in size and influence, expanding westward through exploration, settlement, and conflict. This era, often called Manifest Destiny, reflected the belief that the young republic was destined to spread its ideals of liberty and democracy across the continent. However, this expansion also came at a cost to Native Americans who were forced from their lands, and to enslaved Africans whose bondage contradicted the revolution's very promise of freedom. The struggle between liberty and inequality reached its breaking point in the mid-19th century with the Civil War. In many ways, this conflict was an extension of the unfinished business of the revolution, a battle to determine whether the ideals of equality and independence would apply to all people. The Union's victory in 1865 and the abolition of slavery marked a renewed commitment to the principles first declared in 1776, proving that the Revolution's moral vision was still alive. In the centuries that followed, the influence of the American Revolution continued to shape the nation's politics, culture, and identity. Democratic institutions strengthened, new waves of immigrants arrived seeking freedom and opportunity, and the concept of the American dream emerged, the belief that anyone, regardless of birth, could achieve success through hard work and determination. These ideas became deeply woven into the national character, echoing the revolutionary cry for self-determination. Globally, the revolution's legacy endured as a source of inspiration. Leaders from across the world, from India's Mahatma Gandhi to South Africa's Nelson Mandela, drew upon its message of resistance and freedom. The concept of government by the people and for the people became a guiding principle for countless movements seeking justice and independence. More than 2 centuries later, the American Revolution remains a powerful symbol of human courage and hope. Its story is not merely one of battles and treaties, but of ideas that continue to remind the world that freedom, once kindled, can light the path toward a more just and equal future. The everlasting legacy of the Revolution. The American Revolution is not just a story of the past. It's a living legacy that continues to shape the modern world. Its principles of liberty, democracy, and human rights have become universal values, inspiring movements for freedom across centuries and continents. In the United States, the echoes of 1776 can still be heard in every struggle for justice, from women's suffrage and civil rights to modern fights for equality and inclusion. The Revolution's promise of liberty reminds each generation that freedom must be defended, not inherited. Its message challenges Americans to live up to the ideals written in the Declaration of Independence, that all people are created equal and deserve the right to govern themselves. Culturally, the Revolution helped define the American spirit, a belief in resilience, courage, and self-determination. Artists, filmmakers, and writers continue to draw inspiration from its heroes and ideals, keeping the story alive in classrooms, museums, and global media. Around the world, nations struggling for independence have looked to the American Revolution as proof that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary change. The concepts of constitutional democracy and individual rights continue to guide leaders and citizens alike, shaping modern societies and global institutions. Yet the revolution also serves as a reminder: freedom is fragile. Democracy demands participation, education, and respect for truth. It must be renewed by every generation that inherits it. More than 2 centuries later, the American Revolution stands as one of humanity's most powerful symbols of hope. It began as a fight for independence, but became a timeless movement for dignity and self-rule, proving that the pursuit of freedom is a journey without end.